I'm a little frustrated because I guess based on my location, I was not allowed to watch that game at the very end. They switched it over to Minnesota Northwestern, so I didn't get to see the last drive with Purdy or the interception. I had to watch it on Gamecast on ESPN, which is just, the pop-up text play-by-play. So frustrating that I didn't get to watch the end, especially since I want to watch it more than almost anybody. But it's all good. A win's a win. I see some of the comments, and people are a little bit disheartened by the performance. I totally understand that. I'm going to be real with you. I was too at times. There were a bunch of positive takeaways. I think we know that Anthony Grant is a solidified number one back, and he's got the skill set that some of these other guys who were in front of him, I don't think they have. And because of that, I think he can take Nebraska and put him in good positions to win games, at least if he has the right quarterback out there with him to run with him. And I say the right quarterback because I felt like Harburg looked like the right quarterback today. Now, he was going up against a defense that doesn't do well against the run and a team who's severely undersized compared to what Nebraska's got. But for his second game out there, it felt like, man, this guy's really got the offense under control. Had the fumble, had the sack where he got hit from behind. Obviously, that's out of his control. I thought, was it Bullock who made a great effort to get on the ball, or Borkacher, one of those two? Point is, I think the highlight of today was that the offense controlled the ground game like they were supposed to, right? You come in with an expectation. There's a quote, good teams win, great teams cover. And I don't mean that from a betting perspective. I mean it from, if you're expected to beat a team by 3 touchdowns, it's because you're 3 touchdowns more talented than that team, usually. Today, Nebraska was supposed to win this game by 3 touchdowns. They didn't. And I'm not going to call them a great team, or I wouldn't call this a great win, right? But I would say they got the job done. And in a lower spot, I call this a lower spot because you had kind of the delays. You're coming off of a win last week that was really emotional since they were fighting so hard for it. And you're working in that new quarterback for his second time in a row. You've got multiple guys who are sitting out. Cam Lenhart didn't play. Luke Reimer went down early in the game. Obviously, you're breaking in a new running back room. So the energy is a little bit different right now. And that's why the game was probably closer than it needed to be. And I would expect Nebraska to play a lot better when we watch them come out against Michigan next week. That'll be like a Super Bowl for them, This win wasn't a fantastic win, though. It was a good win. They played solid football. They won time of possession by, I think, 3 minutes. They won the penalty battle. I think they had 6 for 50-something, and Louisiana Tech had 12 for 100-something. And obviously they were +1 in turnover margin. So there are good takeaways, and I'm not gonna make this a negative kind of response to the win, but it wasn't the win that you want if you want to believe that this team's gonna make a bowl game, right? Because there are teams out there who can beat teams who show up and play this type of style. Teams who don't dominate at times, right? Have holding calls that bring big plays back. You had the holding call on the Grant run down the left sideline. Wouldn't have been a touchdown either way, but it still took away yards because that was a big play. Then again, on the Harburg run earlier in the game, Harburg took off for, I don't know how many yards it was, 50 for a touchdown. Marcus Washington held, brings it back. Now, again, it wouldn't have been a touchdown most likely, but it doesn't matter. It's the fact that they're pulling their leading guys and they're making them work twice as hard. Winning football is reducing those penalties and making sure that we pick up those scores when we have the opportunities to. Anyway, 157 yards for Heinrich Harburg today on the ground, which today, I made a comment yesterday saying, he's fast, but I don't think he's as fast as Jeff Sims. The way he ran today, he looked just as explosive as Jeff Sims has as a runner, and he did it multiple times. He broke off big ones right up the middle, split the safeties. I mean, the DBs were chasing him from behind. It was awesome. So there's some more questions this week now. Sims came in for one play, clearly is not ready to go. He was limping on the sideline after. Not bad, but you can tell he's not 100%. That dude's not ready to play. And if he's not ready to practice starting tomorrow at 100%, do you trust him to go in next week against Michigan in a game where I don't want to say Nebraska can win? I mean, they can win any game. Anybody can beat anybody any given Saturday, right? I don't want to get your hopes up, though. But my point more is they can be competitive against Michigan next week. Nebraska has a really good defense. Today, they had their moments. They stayed consistent on offense. 46 rushing yards for Louisiana Tech total. I think Nebraska's got the number 2 rushing defense in the country, and they're going to be after this week as well. Passing game, the backup quarterback at Louisiana Tech, who I think is better than Hank Bachmeier, threw for almost 300 yards. There were some holes, and they exploited them, kind of like Colorado did, and like Minnesota did at times. And the defense can't dominate all game. They can have flashes and moments, but they're not going to be locked down the entire way through. The pressure has to come from the D-line at some point. It felt like, again, just like it felt like in the Colorado game, the quarterback had some time to throw. And when he has time to throw and move around in the pocket like that, he eventually finds guys because the DBs wear out and they can't just zigzag back across the field for 5 minutes waiting, right? So, hopefully it gets tighter. In general, defense is solid, and defense came to play today. They are the ones who ended up winning the game. Again, I didn't get to see it, but Luke Gifford had an interception at the end. I think it bounced off to Coldis Crawford's hands or something. However it went down, I'm just happy they were able to seal it, win by 2 touchdowns, because it would have been really frustrating to only win by 7. Either way, I'm pleased with the win. I'm pleased with how the running back room came out, even though we only really saw one guy as the feature back. Emmett Johnson had 2 carries. So it's all about the quarterback and running back run game. It's all about the option. The option looked great today. They executed it well. And again, Harburg looks like he knows what he's doing. He came out there confident. He had a couple iffy throws. When I say a couple, maybe 5 that were either too long, way out of reach, or into double coverage. Then he had a couple where the receiver didn't run the right route or stopped too early. Fedoni did on one. And then he had a couple that were really impressive where he put it right on the money. Either receiver caught it or the receiver dropped it. And it was kind of frustrating. The best one, my favorite one personally, was the 3rd touchdown of the year for Thomas Fedoni. He's running over the middle. I think it was like a 10-yard route or 15 yards maybe at most. Harburg fires it, and that ball would have gone over probably any of the receivers' heads. But because Fedoni is so big, he got up there, grabbed it, took it in for a touchdown. 3 touchdowns in 3 games for Thomas Fedoni. He's coming out. So excited for him. He had a touchdown against, who was it? Colorado and Northern Illinois. So the only game he hasn't is Minnesota, and that was, the first game of the year. So I'm excited for him. The other receivers aren't that productive right now. Marcus Washington had a drop, I know, but the only one who's getting after it is Billy Kemp, who started slower as well, and now he's coming into his own, and they really like to figure out ways to get it to him. So I was happy that he was able to make a couple big plays. He had a couple screens, like short catches that he was able to turn into decent runs, 5-10 yards. And he finished with 62 yards. So fantastic day for Harburg as a game manager, because I think that's the expectation. I don't want to set these expectations as, well, Harburg's the number 1 QB at Nebraska, and if you're going to be the number 1 QB at Nebraska, you got to be throwing for 200 yards and rushing for 150, and how we used to see the quarterbacks here, like Adrian Martinez. You look at him as a game manager, and you say if he doesn't give the game away, if he allows the team to burn up clock and sustain drives and not turn it over, then he's doing his job. So I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say he played exceptionally well, but he played well for the role that I think that Matt Rhule has given him. 257 yards total on the day. Pretty damn good day for a guy who's in his second start ever. Okay, let me get to chat. That's just my initial thoughts, but we'll talk about more. Husker Nation, thank you for the $5 super chat. Glad to see Grant didn't fumble. You know who did? Tommy Hill, running like he was Anthony Grant on that kick return. And we got lucky because Nebraska was able to get back on that ball, but he was carrying it out here loose. It's frustrating because, devil is in the details. And I know they're preaching high and tight because you watch Harburg and that dude runs like this. Harburg doesn't care if he has to slow down slightly. He doesn't care what the situation is. He is not going to fumble. So that dude runs it like this. He might look a little goofy doing it, but I am so proud when I see it because I know they're teaching it. They're coaching him to do it, and he's following what their coaching's telling him. Tommy Hill, on the other hand, got to tighten up. But yes, Anthony Grant, fantastic. His only issue was the fumbles. Everything else is fantastic. The guy's elusive. He's a powerful runner. He reads the holes well. He went for 22 carries today. I thought they were going to try and limit him to less than 20 because you got to make sure he's good to go throughout the entire season, right? He's your number one, but he powered through 135 yards. Respect to Anthony Grant. And James, thank you for gifting 10 Corn Craze membership. We all appreciate that here. You're the man. Okay, what's next? I'm sliding. Heroes of the Escape, thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you for being a member. Next win gives Rhule a first-year record. Would it be a record? Did Scott Frost, what was Scott Frost in his first year? 4? So I don't know what record it would be. I don't know what you're talking about. But it would get him to 3 wins. So Matt Rhule at 3 wins. Oh, it would give him his first year record is what you're saying. Because he only had 1 or 2. Yeah, that's inevitably going to happen. Nebraska's getting at least 1 more over Northwestern, you would guess. And regular Illinois did not look too good this week. They played against FIU with their backup quarterback since their their starting quarterback Casey Thompson went out. FIU kept it within 6. Regular Illinois had to drive the field to finish that one off. But Nebraska can win some games. It's not about Nebraska winning. It's about Nebraska not giving it away. I was thinking about this today. Winning the Big Ten West is not winning the Big Ten West this year, just like it wasn't the last couple of years. It's surviving the Big Ten West. Who can, what's the word people use? Muck. Who can muck their way through the record or through the schedule and have a good enough record to come out on top? Not who's going to be dominant, because none of these teams are dominant. I mean, Wisconsin did look good last night, give them credit, but they looked good because Purdue was so bad. Purdue's another team. They've got some issues. Christian says, thank you for the $5 super chat, Christian. Hopefully Lenhart is back for Michigan. Hopefully Lenhart and hopefully Luke Reimer. I don't know what his issue is. I didn't watch the presser. I just frustratingly got on this stream because I wasn't able to watch the end of that game. But hopefully Luke Reimer is good because he's such a key piece of that defense. The good news is there's so much depth at linebacker. You've got Javen Wright, John Bullock, and Nick Henrich. So you've got 3 guys who can rotate for 2 spots. But Reimer's arguably the best one of all 3. So you really want to have him back in too. No sacks today, and I think part of that is because you didn't have a Cam Lenhart. Cam Lenhart was in there, and he's rotating usually every game with, sorry, I'm thinking about so many names in my head, guys. Blaise Gunnerson. So, obviously, Blaise Gunnerson didn't get to him. There were a couple where they got pressure, and where I thought they were going to get the QB, but he always got it out. They're aware, right? In their game plan, they say, look, Nebraska's got a pretty good pass rush. When they get back there, you got to make sure they get the ball out. Don't give up sacks. Last game, they gave up 3. Northern Illinois gave up 3. So this team was prepared for it. They got the ball out pretty quick. And the quarterback was a little bit of I don't want to call him a dual threat, but he can move around. He wasn't getting brought down easy. 42 attempts for that guy, though. Wow, for a backup QB. Anyway, hopefully, Christian. Hopefully. Bang, bang. I'm sliding, guys. Chat's rendering. Okay, we're here. Brandon, thank you for the $5 super chat. On call tonight. Got called back into work. Still made it to watch the live show. Life is good. Brandon, wait. On call and you got to watch the game and then had to go to work after? And so you're watching the live show and then you got to go back to work after? I don't know what your situation is, but as long as you got to watch the game, I'm happy. You can always watch my stream later, but thank you for being here live. It means a lot. You know, we like to have a packed house after wins because there's a lot more positive energy than after those losses. Chris, thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you for being a member. The narrative with Sims was how he's so dangerous running for a touchdown when the play breaks down. Harburg does it too without turnovers. He is the one. I can't defend Sims right now because Harburg looked like he possesses all the same skills that Sims does. He looked pretty good as a passer. The question was, and in the beginning of the game, it was a slow start, okay? Nebraska really wore this Louisiana Tech team down. How will it look in the Big Ten, right? Because they were able to wear them down, the run game got going. Harburg looked a lot better. In the beginning, it was a slow start, okay? So you've got to think about that. Jeff Sims has not had the privilege of going against Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech. How would he have looked in these situations? I get it. And I know everybody's going to say Harburg has to start from here on out. But let's say Harburg starts next week against Michigan and Nebraska's offense isn't productive. Then do you stick with Harburg because he won 2 games? Or do you say, okay, well, there might still be more upside with Jeff Sims? I don't know. I don't watch practice. I just hear what they say in the presser. I just hear what people tell me. It's going to be an interesting next couple weeks. It's going to be a little bit confusing, I'm sure, for a lot of us because some of us are going to be on one side of the fence. The others are going to be on the Sims side. And then when we're on the one side and it doesn't go our way, we're going to say, whoa, 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 why are they not doing what we think needs to be done? Because we've already seen proof. Well, the proof has been done against 2 group of 5 teams. So I don't know how it's going to go. I'm really interested to see what Matt Rhule says in the presser, though. My guess is Harburg's going to have to go because Sims isn't going to be fully ready to roll until at least Wednesday, right? You saw him hobble a little bit today. I thought he was going to play half the game based on them telling us we gave him 55% of the reps in practice. 55% of the reps in practice, the dude's hobbling on the sideline. Now, was he hobbling on the sideline because he re-aggravated it by getting tackled on that one run play when he came in today? Was that the issue? Because that could be one thing. Or was he already only 65% and you're trying to get him back in there faster? I don't know. I would guess, based on everything we know and everything we've seen today, Harburg starts against Michigan. That's my guess. We're going to see. But that's what most people want. So, Dashcammer, thank you for the 10. Next week, Nebraska will play respectably in the first half, but Michigan will run the table in the second. Their halftime adjustments are top-notch. So, Michigan started off a little, is the word slow? I don't even know if I'd call it slow. They started off a little average today against Rutgers. The score was 7-7 when I first checked in. They gave up a long touchdown. After that, dominant, finished the game, 34-7 or something like that? They dominated is the point. So, or 35-7? I don't know. They dominated that game, and you're right. Second half adjustments really came in. Nebraska, I think their defense is better than Rutgers. Is Nebraska going to be able to provide some different looks? Are they going to be able to become a team who can pressure that quarterback? Get after the run game. If Nebraska's shutting down Michigan's run game the way they have these first 4 weeks, Michigan's going to have to open that playbook. Now, they've got weapons all over the field. They've got a really good QB. But that quarterback's been known to throw picks this year. He threw 3 in the last game. Not today against Rutgers, but 3 last week. So there are some pressure points you can go after against Michigan. I don't want to say they're going to get run on. I think Nebraska can keep it close. Fourth quarter, does Nebraska wear down? Probably. That's usually how these things go. But I think they could play respectably in the second half as well. And I think they could keep it within 14 points. And then maybe late game, that's when you give up that last touchdown to seal the deal and lose by 21. But hey, anything can happen. We've seen bigger upsets in college football than Michigan losing to Nebraska. Noah, thank you for the $5 super chat. Was that the second team defense the last 2 series? I don't know. I didn't get to watch the game. They cut it off for me when the Big Ten Network switched over to Minnesota, and I could not find a stream online to watch it, unfortunately. So I sat here and waited for the stream to start so I could talk to you guys because I didn't get to see what happened. So the chat will have to tell you if it was second team D or not. I don't know. I don't think it would have been. Maybe some of the guys would have been second team, but Luke Gifford had an interception to seal the deal, right? So if Luke had an interception to seal the deal, then that would have had to be at least a few starters back in there still. Chris, thank you for the $10 super chat. Great point for sure, Connor. Wanted to throw you 10 and tell you I love you, GBR. I love you too, Chris. You're the man. I love all you guys who are in the chat and always supporting me because you guys make this stream fun. I couldn't do it without you. Jim, thank you for the $5 super chat. And thank you for being a member. If I see a comment, where is it? Here we go. Jim says, I truly believe Louisiana Tech scores if not for the delay. In that case, you think Nebraska would have won this game by 7 points? There's no dancing around it. This was an ugly win. This was not a pretty, flashy win. Now, if you're Nebraska, you got to get any win you can, right? You've got multiple starters out with injury, or at least multiple rotators out with injury. You've got a brand new quarterback in his second start, and you're still trying to get over, let's call it the curse, the mentality and the culture of we will lose this game no matter what. Nebraska could have easily said, "Oh, game's a little too close for comfort. We're gonna fold," and then got smacked down towards the end, and not have the kicker to get it done. Speaking of kicker, did Alvano miss a kick? It was like 40. I think he missed a 41-yarder that he shanked. So frustrating. You watched the game today, off topic, but I got to talk about it. There was a game on this morning, Clemson versus Florida State. Clemson is in position to force overtime or potentially win the game. 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Their walk-on kicker kicks a field goal, shanks it. Clemson ends up losing that game in overtime. They could have potentially won that game on that kick. Anyway, Dabo wouldn't go to the portal, and he wouldn't pick up a new kicker. He won't pick up any players from the portal. He'll lose guys to the portal, but he won't pick up new ones. So instead of picking up a new kicker, he called a walk-on who has been at Clemson for years, hasn't played yet this season, and said, "Hey, no, you haven't suited up. No, you haven't been to practice. No, you're not on the team. But can you come back and kick for us because we're down bad?" That former walk-on kicker who's never kicked in the game came to kick for them against Florida State today. And they ended up losing that game because of a kicker. Not the kicker's fault. I mean, they didn't have a kicker, right? They had a walk-on guy who has a regular job and who should be at home or in the stadium watching the game, but instead he's being forced to kick in a high-pressure situation against the number 4 team in the country. Anyway, I bring this up because, number one, you want to have a kicker. Nebraska's going to develop Alvano, and he's going to be fine. He's a freshman, and it takes time to get worked into the system and to understand and to get a feel for playing in big pressure environments, right? So I'm not worried about Alvano. But we were talking about the transfer portal yesterday and how Matt Rhule wants to make sure that he brings in his own guys, develops them. He doesn't want to have to be reliant on the portal. Today we saw Dabo Swinney fail because he is so adverse to the portal. He says no portal. So you got to have some balance. So I thought that was an interesting thing that happened today to remind us that the portal is okay. The portal is necessary because when you lose so much to it, you have to bring some back in. So just a thought. I know you guys probably watched that game, and yeah, I didn't want to let that one go without talking about it. Let me see. Francisco, thank you for the $5 super chat. Losing a 4-leg parlay last second hurts. Nebraska minus 21. Those garbage time scores. I'll tell you what. They shouldn't have given that touchdown up. The defense should have held, but they just let him drive too easy. GBR all day, though. Happy we got the win, and Harburg's a dog. Harburg is a dog. The defense had its moments, but the defense also had some missed tackles. I was surprised by that. There were some holes in the secondary. There were some missed tackles. They couldn't get to the quarterback every time. You want to see him play a little bit tougher. 292 yards passing to give up to Louisiana Tech. I get they're an air raid team. They got a couple really good receivers. What's his name? Cypress Allen? Is that his name? Let me see. Hold on. I don't want to mess up his name. He deserves respect. Cyrus Allen, 6 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. Smoke Harris, 11 catches for 86 yards. Also, Smoke Harris running down, I think it was the middle or the sideline on a punt return. Phelan Sanford came up, knocked that ball out, earning himself some playing time. They had some really good receivers, and, it is what it is, but 292 yards passing. Come on, man. Come on. CJ says, we scored 7 points at the half, and that was based on a fake field goal. At least they took the shot. Timmy Bleekrod, out of nowhere, no role on this team, and then he's the guy who puts us in position to score a touchdown. Shout out to Timmy. That was awesome. Chris, thank you for the 2. What's this one say? I'm trying to scroll. Got me saying amen like my pastor will tomorrow. Am I preaching right now? I'm just talking shit. John, thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm looking. Did you put a message in here? I don't see one. Well, if you had a message in here, John, I would respond to it. Eli, thank you for the $5. Thank you for being a member. Heinrich is QB1 for sure. Defense can muddy the waters next week as long as they come in focused. They got to tackle well. They got to finish, right? When you got a guy deep in the end zone, and who was it? Deshaun Singleton. When you got a guy who gets over the top of you and gets into the end zone, I don't know if he slipped. I don't know if it was a misread. I don't know what the situation was. But Michigan will exploit you there. Michigan will exploit you over the middle. And instead of having missed throws, Louisiana Tech had multiple missed throws that could have gone for another 15 yards 4 or 5 times. Guys wide open over the middle. I don't know if it was bad reads. I don't know if they were in zone and guys were just playing too much or not tight enough pressure or not tight enough coverage on them. But how many was it? 5, 6? There were 6 times where Louisiana Tech could have picked up 10 to 15 more yards a play, and Nebraska's defense got blessed with either drop balls or bad throws. So they're going to have to play tight next week. Michigan's not going to make those same mistakes. I promise you, Michigan will play a much tighter game. So, yep, hopefully they muddy the waters, but I don't know. I'm nervous for Michigan, I'll be honest. We all know what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be a 2.5 touchdown loss, but you want to have hope. I want to give you a reason to believe that they can win. I want to give myself that same damn reason because I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be excited. Chris, thank you for the $2 super chat. Indeed, you're preaching, sir. Tyrell, thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you for being a member. You've been a member for a year? Is that what that one is? Damn. Okay, this offense would be so much better if the O-line would block better. And Heinrich as QB1. GBR, go Ducks. A lot of Ducks fans here today. We'll talk about that in a second. The O-line, you know, they have their issues. They miss a lot of blocks. I don't know who it was today. There was a polling play. Who was it? I don't want to call out names. Maybe it was the center. It was Scott. He pulls, and then Heinrich gets blown up in the backfield. And I don't know whose job it was and who missed their assignment, but there are little things like that can get frustrating. However, the tight ends block really well. The running backs, the wide receivers, when they're not holding, they block really well downfield. So, you know, the blocking, I think overall has been better. The offensive line still has its issues, but tight end blocking, fullback blocking, stocks going up. On one run to the outside, it was either I think it was the Heinrich run where he broke down the middle. Was it that? I think it was. Whatever. One of the big runs, Fedoni and Borkacher both cleared a huge lane. They were in a 2 tight end set. Stuff we like to see. There's a lot of hope. A lot of hope for the blocking, although the O-line still has their issues. Okay, let's talk about this really quickly. So you guys remember Casey Rogers? He played defensive line at Nebraska. That's him right there. Fake punt. First down on Colorado. He's a big guy. He transferred out when Tuioti left, if you guys remember. And he's had his few moments over there at Oregon. And I thought this was funny. You guys probably heard Dan Lanning say it. It was his pregame speech. Go and look it up. Dan Lanning pregame speech before Colorado. The Cinderella story's over. They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. There's a difference. This game ain't going to be played in Hollywood. It's played on the grass. And they were dominant. I mean, they embarrassed Colorado. They embarrassed Colorado so bad, I'm pissed off as a Nebraska fan that we lost to them. And look at this. All I'm getting is these stupid Prime sunglasses ads because I've been doing so much research on Prime for YouTube videos. I hate this. Prime sunglasses ads. It's crazy. Shador, 159 yards passing. No run game against them. They got dominated. Oregon lit it up. You want to see how far away we are from being where Matt Rhule expects? Tell you what, go and look at that stat line, Oregon against Colorado. Nebraska losing to Colorado is frustrating after today. But that's how anybody's going to feel. Everybody's going to feel that way because Colorado's about to be a, 6-win team this year. They're about to get rocked. About to get rocked next week by USC. Robert, thanks for being a member. So after the Buffs lose, does this humble that team? Or is it still going to be all about how they are disrespected? I think it humbles them a little bit. Someone made a comment that I thought was funny. It said, Colorado got to be the Beatles for 3 weeks. And it's so true. They had a lot of shit to talk because they could back it up. When you get dominated in that fashion, it's one thing if you lose by 7. It's another when you lose by 35. It's like, whoa, who are we? Heisman Trophy who? Shador played okay, but he has no O-line to help him. He can't back him up. Teams are all going to act like this now. So here's the issue. Do you keep talking tough? Do you keep acting big like you're the hot shots, and then you get every team's best game? Or do you play more mellow? Here's what normally happens. If you're Alabama, you don't got to talk. You just win. And if you win enough, teams are going to play you like it's their Super Bowl because they're pissed off that they're playing Alabama and that everyone's saying they're going to lose to Alabama, right? If you're Colorado, and you talk tough every week, it's almost like a rivalry game every week. Teams are just going to hate you by default. So whether you're a 1-win team or a 10-win team, you're going to get their best game. They're going to play you like it's the Super Bowl. So for their own best interest, I think they're going to chill out. I think that's what Dion did this week. Dion did not say anything big. He did not say anything crazy or that blew up online. He paid his respects to the head coach at Oregon, and because of that, he was hoping, I think, that they didn't get blown out. They still did, obviously, but yeah, I think he and that team understand if we talk and we can't back it up, it's going to be a long season. It's going to be an embarrassing season. So, yeah, I think it slows down. Chris, thank you for the 5. Fedoni turned nothing into something with that TD catch. Thrown high and behind him, and he still grabbed it. GBR and GCC, go corn crazed. I like that. GCC. GBR, Chris. Okay, so ball was behind him. There were a few balls that were, maybe not a few. What is it? 2 or 3 that were thrown behind the receivers that were caught. But for the most part, I thought Haarberg put it right on the money. The most frustrating one was one that hit, what was his name? Marcus Washington in the chest, bounced off of him. It's like, come on, Marcus. You're one of the best receivers on the team. You're a top 2. You got to step up and make those plays. But outside of that drop, I thought that Haarberg had some good balls. And I have faith in him. So Thomas Fedoni, Billy Kemp, any freak athletes who are out there who can make plays, they're going to help him even more. But you got to do your best as a receiver to help out this quarterback because not everything is going to be perfect. He's not the most polished guy. He's still getting worked in. He's not a pass-first QB. He even said it himself. He's a run-first. And so if you're going to be a run-first, you want to make sure that the guys around you are going to give you as much help as possible. Regardless, shout out Fedoni. I'm telling you, I'm super high on Fedoni. I was high on him to start the year. He started slow, but now he's picking it up, and he's getting better at blocker, but he's a great overall tight end, like as a decent blocker and a good receiver. So positives. James, thank you for the $10 and thank you for being a member. I do think we left 14 unanswered points. It was nice to see Purdy on the field for some reps. I'm convinced now that Heinrich is QB1. Keep up the great content, Connor. GBR. Thank you, James. I appreciate you. I think, man, chat, can you tell me right now? I want in the chat, just type in a number, either a 1 or a 2, okay? The 1 is for Heinrich Haarberg. The 2 is for Jeff Sims. Who is your starting quarterback if you're the head coach? Who is your starting quarterback? Number 1 for Heinrich Haarberg. Number 2 for Jeff Sims. Let me know. Rodis, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member. Hashtag subprime. Listen, Prime will be back, I promise you. JH Catfishing, thank you for being a member. We need to clean up the flags. The holdings, I think, is the biggest thing. The holdings that bring back big plays is the most frustrating part to watch. You want to see those guys break out, and you want to see them build their confidence, and you can see the frustration on Anthony Grant's face, for example, when he's got to run back down the field. Haarberg took it a little bit better. Haarberg's really a team guy. I love him as the face of Nebraska right now because he's the perfect model of what you want a Nebraska quarterback to be. He's tough. He's locked in. He wants to make sure there are no turnovers because that's the biggest issue we've had. He's a runner, and he's for the team. So he's not going to lash out or get frustrated like some quarterbacks might, not any on Nebraska's team, but some other quarterbacks around the country might get frustrated by the guys around them not doing their job. He's pick your head up. It's all good. We're going to go back there and we're going to do it again. And they did. So yeah, Haarberg's the man. Nathan, thank you for being a member. It's my birthday tomorrow. Happy early birthday. So my dad took me to the Husker game and we did well, but the refs didn't do great. I don't know. Was it the refs' fault or did Nebraska just have their issues? I'm sorry, guys. Still have my congestion issues. Chat is all in. Chat is all in on Heinrich Haarberg. It's going to be interesting this week. All these press conferences, man. Sims has got his hands full now with a QB he's going up against who's 2-0 and protects the ball. Ardwin, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Happy my hometown hero Heinrich is just playing ball. He's out there, backyard football, and he is, what's the right word? Not dominant. He's a fantastic game manager. Noah, thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you for being a member. Ball hits your hands. You have to pull it down. I hope they got some ball drills coming this week. Marcus Washington had issues catching the ball last year. He had some drops. That was my biggest concern about him going into this season. Explosive, has big play potential, but Got to catch the ball when it's thrown your way, especially when you don't get that many opportunities. Nebraska just doesn't throw it that often. They only had 8 completions today. Think about that. Question is, how many will they have next week against Michigan? They've got to open the offense up. Nebraska cannot just run at Michigan over and over and over. They will sniff that out. They will stop that eventually. Kraut, thank you for the $10 super chat. Fedoni is going to be the highest drafted Husker since Sue when it's all said and done. Wow. Almost had a sneeze, guys. I'm sorry. That's a ambitious statement. I hope that it would be true. Fedoni has gotten better as the weeks have gone on. I think he's got to be a really effective receiver down the stretch here and start getting 3, 4, 5 catches a game as opposed to one big one per game. But, you know, sky's the limit for the dude. So I really hope that's true. Thank you for the 10. I appreciate you. Bruce says both suck. None are my QB. Bruce, what's your expectation for a quarterback on this roster? What do you think they're going to do? Craig says Sims hasn't gotten a fair shake yet. He literally played 1 play at home. Heinrich has played games against very weak teams at home. Again, you're not wrong. It's such an interesting situation because half the fan base is divided. You've got half the people who want Sims, half the people who want Heinrich Harburg. This week's going to be a little funny. I think it's going to be funny specifically because Sims will not be 100% going through practice. If he's not 100% going through practice, how can you make a decision? The only way Heinrich Harburg wins the job outright, in my opinion, is if he comes out and plays great, plays better than he did this week against Michigan. So unless he does that, I think Sims is still going to get his chance. Sims played 1 play and he didn't even know what direction it was going. Yeah, Sims came in and he didn't have a chance to get in rhythm. So Smoking Cactus says Craig's Sims has played for 3 years and Heinrich looked better in only 2 games. And it's so true. Sims has played for 3 years and has multiple 300-yard passing games. Multiple 300-yard passing games and multiple wins over Power 5 teams. Heinrich has had 2 games. It's just hard to compare these two. Ardwin, thank you for being a member. I know for a fact there was a play where one of our guys had his face mask pushed up to the sky, but he was called for holding. That was Alex Bullock. It was a holding. He held the guy, and then the guy tried to push him off to try and make the tackle, so he pushed his shoulder pad into his face mask. I don't think it was an actual face mask grab. I think it was more of a shoulder pad into the face. So I understood why the refs called it that way. He was holding, and it was clear right before that. Chris, Husker Nation, James gifted you this membership. He gifts people memberships every time I stream. He's awesome. Hero says, I just don't think you can sit Heinrich right now. That's the interesting thing. They don't want to play a dual quarterback system, right? But you have to play them both, I would think, if you're going to expect them to run the ball a lot. If you're going to tire a team out, just like you would in the running back room, trying to grind out tough yards all game, you're going to have to do the same thing at quarterback because the quarterbacks will wear down. When you get guys too worn down, they end up getting injured. We've seen so many injuries. Ches Malusi, the number 2 at Wisconsin, who was running for 50 to 100 yards a game, that dude's out for the season now. You've got Braylon Allen, who's going to have to run it a bunch on his own. I'm not sure who their backup is. But the point is, teams who want to grind out those tough yards, they want to have runners. And since there are so many guys who can get injured, you might have to hit them twice. And if you're going to hit them twice, you got to have Heinrich go and Sims go. I don't know how they're going to handle it. Lance says, was at the game. Heinrich missed multiple wide open receivers. He's one tough son of a bitch. Yeah, that's the only thing about Heinrich. He misses wide open receivers. Does Sims? I don't remember him missing that many wide open receivers. I know he threw a couple balls behind guys. He obviously had the pick and multiple picks, and he stares receivers down. But can he be more effective in the passing game? I don't know. Interesting situation. Ardwin says he got to take a selfie with Kenny Bell today. He was super cool. Tell Kenny Bell next time you see him to come on the Corn Craze stream. CJ says, with no turnovers next week, we can keep them around 30 points. With our normal 2 to 4, we give up 40 plus. Hey, CJ, normal 2 to 4, we had none today, right? None? We won the turnover battle, +1. Last week, they had 1, right? 1 turnover? I think 1. Anyway, I would say the new normal with Harburg is 1, maybe 2. We'll call it 1 to 2 against the Power 5 team. 2 to 4, come on, we're not getting crazy over here. We have a game manager who is not going to give away games. Wait. Max says Marquise Buford went through warmups today. I didn't see that. I saw him on the sideline in no pads. But Marquise Buford should be back for the last 4 games of the season. They'll probably redshirt him, and he'll come back next year as a starter, which would be really good. John, thank you for the $5. They should commit more to the power run game. Every time they establish it, they go right back to passing when they don't have the players for it. I'll tell you the issue. If you only go power run and you don't make the defense guess what you're going to do, eventually they will shut you down. If you only go power run, eventually you will wear yourself out. If you only go power run and it doesn't succeed, you will bury yourself into a hole and you'll have to climb out passing anyway. So rather than do all of that, how about we just do a little bit of passing? I mean, they barely passed it today. I think there were like 18 total passes on the day or something, or 18 total attempts. So they're definitely trying to run it more. Harburg had, 19 carries? Let me see if I have it up. I don't have it up. But Harburg had like 19 carries. Grant had 20 carries. You've got to throw to mix it up and to change the pace. You got to take some shots downfield. Harburg had some moments where he had some really good passes. So I don't hate what they're doing, honestly. I think the power run game is the bread and butter. And as you get into the later parts of the game, you want to just pound it out and hit that 200-plus yard mark. But, they've got to be able to pass. And right now they're doing it. Daryl, thanks for being a member. Don't know if it's been said or not, but our D gave up only 46 yards rushing today to match the season average. I think our D is legit. D is legit. I wish they would have played a little bit better against the pass. But overall, yes, the D is legit. Chris, let me see. Did I miss your super chat? Don't worry, I'm going back for it. Chris, I got you. Thank you for the $2. Hutmaker will go NFL. Polar Bear is different. He gets in there and he's the most talked about defensive lineman now. He's been consistent. Would love to see if he could, if he gets some more sacks on the season. But yeah, I think he's got a potential draft spot in him. He's a big dude. He's strong. He's way leaner. So there are a lot of guys in this defense who have a chance to play in the NFL. I think we can put it that way. It's just yet to be seen where they'll go. We've only seen 4 games. Remember, it's a small sample size. They played against Colorado, Minnesota, Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech. What happens when they go up against Illinois? When they go up against Maryland, Michigan State? There are some tough teams down the stretch here who have really tough offensive lines, so things will look different. Outside of a few plays, Singleton has looked really impressive so far. Singleton had a couple plays today that frustrated me. And I talk so highly about Singleton, so I'm going to call out these 2 that were frustrating. There's one going towards the end zone. First touchdown of the game for Louisiana Tech. I think it was Smoke Harris or one of the running backs. Gets loose. It was Bayer and Quentin Newsome. Both have the dude wrapped up. Both could have brought him down. Don't have him wrapped up. Doesn't get him down. He has another 7 yards to the end zone. Singleton kind of quits on the play because he thinks he's getting brought down. And then the guy runs right past Singleton. So that was a frustrating one. Got to be really aware and be ready. Mind you, it's okay to not be perfect, but, he wishes he got that one back. Then the other one was that pass over the top for a touchdown. I don't know if he second-guessed it. I don't know if he was out of position. I don't know if his read was to be up in front. Whatever happened, Singleton had a couple bad plays, but it's all good. He's been fantastic. Newsome looks really good. Hartzog looks really good. Omar Brown looks really good. All these DBs, they look really strong. Good win today. I said it after the Colorado game. The defense is solid. The hope is that they can maintain this level of play. Daryl, thank you for being a member. I just hope Heinrich gets his accuracy down on the long ball. I noticed today that he was throwing it too high for our receivers with passes over 20 yards. That's the only issue. We don't have a pocket passer back there. We've got a guy who's a little bit choppy, but he's good. Still not sold on Heinrich passing ability. So that's going to be the question this week. What's Nebraska's game plan against Michigan? And after Harburg, sits down and gives Sims his job back for a minute. Not saying it'll be permanent. Not saying he'll even give him the job back. Maybe it's a co-starter role. I don't know. Will Sims be able to make those throws that they want to take, or take those shots that they want to take? And will the deep passing game be enhanced with Sims in the quarterback? I don't know. CJ says defense will get gas next week after all of our 3-and-outs. I don't know, man. I don't know if the offense is going to be that bad. I think the offense struggles, but they're going to work in some game plan that gets the ball moving. Remember, I can't, it's hard to compare. 2021 Nebraska kept pace with Michigan, and Michigan had a really strong defense that year. The Nebraska offense was obviously a lot better than the offense that we're working with now, the 2021 offense. But I still think they can find a way. Michigan is good, but Michigan is not a dominant team like the teams that Alabama was fielding a few years ago, or Georgia, where you just can't do anything against them. They're sound fundamentally. They tackle really well. They do so many things the right way that it's hard to beat Michigan and overcome your own mistakes. But they're not going to dominate you and punish you the way that a Georgia or an Alabama or some of these other teams would. So I do have hope for Michigan. See? J-Man, thank you for backing me up. Perfect timing. He says, I'm a Michigan fan, but I'm worried about next week. Michigan doesn't look good. Michigan looks good. They don't look great. Michigan doesn't look like the number 2 team in the country. They look like a top 15, top 20 team, but they let other teams beat themselves, and they play sound fundamental football, and they don't lose games. Michigan is going into Lincoln. I promise you, Nebraska is going to be fired up for this freaking game. The fans will be going crazy for this game. I will be in attendance for this game, so the luck will be going up, I promise. I went to the Michigan State game back in 2015 with my friend, and I told him, his name's Tyler. I was like, Tyler, we have to go back to the Michigan game because the last time I took you to a game, just me and you, we pulled out the upset over the number 7 team in the country. So we got to do it again. So Tyler said, yeah, I got you. We'll run it back. So look, I'm doing everything in my power to, I guess, manifest a win. Michigan's offense isn't ranked in the top 50 nationally. Yeah, it's probably not. Scott says, let's talk about the Nebraska defense that should be number 1 against the run next week. Maybe we should support the defense with a blackout next week. I'll be wearing black, so I'll support the defense with a black next week. Greatest Ever says, can you live stream the game next week? I can't live stream from the game. I got to watch the game, unfortunately. But I'll live stream after the game next week from outside the stadium, and we'll do a meetup outside the stadium, that's for sure. Right when the game is done, we'll meet up right outside the stadium next to the statue. Same place I did it last time. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's the one with all the players. Evanception, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member. It's a W, so I can't complain too much. But what happened to the pass rush? Also, I don't like how the D basically quit trying after the delay. Oh well, GBR all day, every day. I didn't get to see much after the delay, I'll be honest with you, because the game cut out. So I had to watch it on my phone and only got to see the text updates. I didn't get to see the actual game. Kind of annoying. So I don't know what happened with the D. The pass rush, they didn't bring as many guys this week. They were more concerned about stopping the pass. So you only had 3, sometimes 4 rushing the QB. It was frustrating that they didn't get home as often as I thought they would. But that's why the pass rush wasn't as strong and wasn't as impactful in this game, because they had to worry about the pass. They had a lot of really strong receivers, fast guys who were getting open, and they were making catches. So obviously can't complain. Got to be happy with the win. Wish the defense would have played a little bit better, but given the circumstances, playing against an air raid team, they did what they had to do. So I get it, but at least it's a win, and they're just gonna have to make some adjustments going forward. Chris, thank you for the $5. I think Dion would be a horrible coach for us. Wouldn't care about the program or the traditions. What are your thoughts? I think he would try to embrace the tradition at Nebraska harder than he's embracing it at Colorado. Colorado doesn't have as much history to it. Colorado is not Nebraska, and there's nothing close, or there's nothing there that's close to it or that could compare to it. So Dion would be forced to embrace what Nebraska is more than he's forced to embrace what Colorado is. Colorado has done the wrong thing for so long and has been such a average team for basically ever outside of a few good years that he has to say, well, what do we need to do different to make this a fun place to be, to make this a program that I can recruit to get fans back engaged, because they needed drastic change. They needed a major program shift. Nebraska wouldn't have needed that. Nebraska would have needed coaching change. They would have needed player change, but the tradition, the fan base, the support, he would have had to embrace it. And I think he would have been willing to. So it's a very interesting situation at Colorado because he has to bring in a brand since Colorado doesn't have one. If he was at LSU, if he was at Texas A&M, Nebraska, he would be able to attach more to their tradition and to their program and not be forced to sell people on prime time and Deion Sanders and I ain't hard to find, because he'd be working with more. Think of it that way. Surf Bogey says, we look like a D2, maybe a D3 team this year. That's ridiculous. Nebraska's going to win more games than they won last year or the year before. I think this is a 5-win team at worst. So I disagree with that. Do you think maybe we didn't want to pass rush too much to not give Michigan looks? Or were we just not getting to it? I think they were running a defense that worked for an air raid team. So I don't think that Michigan's going to have the same offense next week. I know they won't. So because Michigan won't have the same offense, the defense is going to be a little bit different. They're going to play a little bit more aggressively up on the line. They're going to try and stop Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards. They're going to try and get to JJ McCarthy, force him out of the pocket, force him to make some tougher throws. So I just think it's a different defensive game plan. So I'm not worried about next week. Talking when we talk about the flaws from this week, the flaws from this week. What's the right word? I mean, it's okay. It's okay to have a bad week. Every team does it. You have an up and you have a down. You have an up and a down, and as long as you win, you're good. Not every win's going to be pretty. So Matthew says we would love Deion so much as our coach. He would know exactly how to pander to the fans. I don't think a lot of people would like Deion as the coach, but doesn't matter. He's not the coach here, and he's not going to be, so it's all good. Anyway, guys, I'm going to make a video tomorrow, I think. I will give a recap and a breakdown of this game, and we'll get on to the talk for Michigan week. I'm going to try to get 2 guests on for live streams this week, so that should be fun. When I do these shows, right after I'm done, I go and watch my friend Adam Carricker. His channel has a gut reaction. He does one after every single game. He also does it after breaking news and big moments in Nebraska throughout the week. So in Nebraska sports throughout the week. So you can go to youtube.com/Carricker Chronicles 90, or just type in Carricker Chronicles on YouTube, and you can find his channel there. And then he also has YouTube. He also has CarrickerChronicles.com. Sorry, with all of my content from YouTube on there, his content, and a bunch of other Nebraska creators. So he's a partner of ours. He's a fantastic supporter of our show, and I like to support him in return. So I'm going to watch his gut reaction. I hope you guys too. Let me know what you think of it. I'm excited for this week, though. There's going to be a lot of positives to talk about, and I think we're going to get a lot more energy out of the program this week, because after you have 2 weeks that are a little bit lower because you're playing against weaker competition, and we've gone through so much adversity. You've got multiple starters being out, being injured, and probably not coming back. Hopefully they get Reimer back. Hopefully they get Cam Lenhart back, and hopefully Sims is back in the fold at some point. I think it's just going to lift everyone's spirits a little bit more. Number 2 teams coming into play, and then obviously a lot of Nebraska fans are going to travel in for this one. It feels like we're going to have a lot more positive energy going into this week, and a lot more than we've had the last couple. So Connor and Adam oh, you said Chancellor. Connor, me, and Adam Carrick are going to do more content together. I promise you that. Chancellor Brewington will get back onto the show. Someone told me he wanted to come back on, so he can come back on and give us a film breakdown, because he does those on his own channel. And we'll see how it goes from there. I'm excited for more guests, though. So, guys, thank you for being here. And I'm going to get out of here and go watch this Notre Dame-Ohio State game. And I hope you do, too, because that's supposed to be a really good one. I have no idea what the score is on that. But, yeah. Until next time, thank you for being here. And I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.